input, 16 input, and 22 input models, while the Signature Multitrack comes in 12 input and 22 input. So our Signature Series consoles have a lot of Soundcraft's heritage and legacy in analog consoles inherent in all of them. So in each Signature Series, there is a Ghost mic pre, a Sapphire EQ, and a GB series audio routing and switching configuration. So the Ghost mic pre is a really low noise, a high headroom, transparent, but flattering mic pre, which has really great response. The Sapphire EQ is a very interesting EQ. It's from a post-production desk that we made in the 1990s. It had asymmetrical EQ. What that means is the mid-bands, when you boost, it's a very wide Q, so very flattering, broad strokes. Good for just low-end boosts, stuff like that. And the mid-bands have a narrow cut, so very good for finding a nasty resonance on a snare drum, for instance, or getting rid of that fizzy bit of the guitar. Anything that needs a surgical cut, anything you want to get rid of, the Sapphire EQ does that just naturally. Then we have the GB series audio routing. So the GB series is a very popular mixing console for many years now. It has a very familiar layout, very powerful pre-post switching and subgroup routing. So we brought that to the console as well. So all the auxes can be switched between pre or post, including the effects bus, which can be used as an aux out as well, in either pre or post. And then you have subgroups as well across all the Signature Series consoles except for the Signature 10. But the Signature 12 has 2 mono or 1 stereo subgroup, and the Signature 16 and Signature 22 have 4 mono or 2 stereo subgroups. And again, you can route those to the master bus, or you can just do separate subgroup outputs, and you can route channels to either the subgroup and also to the master bus as well. So very powerful switching and routing on the GB series audio routing. In addition to the Soundcraft legacy circuitry, we also put a lot of personal touches into the Signature series. Features like the interval mute, which mutes all playback across the desk except for the playback channel, the playback channel pre-post selection, the high Z inputs, and the Dbx limiters really make a big difference on how you mix. The Dbx limiters have a fixed threshold, fixed time constants, and they work just post the mic pre and line input. So if you have a source going into the channel, just turn on the limiter and just drive the gain until it starts gain reducing, where you see the red LED start lighting up. The high Z inputs are great. It gives you proper impedance for a passive pickup, like on an electric guitar and a bass, or even an acoustic guitar as well. And we also have Lexicon Effects. These Lexicon Effects were hand-chosen for the type of response you'd want in a live environment. So we have your typical Lexicon reverbs, your Hall algorithms, plate algorithms, even springs, gated reverb, stuff like that. We have delays and modulations like rich studio choruses and modern choruses. We also have combined effects as well, where on one algorithm you have both reverb and delay, reverb and chorus, things that are tailored to get the best sound in situations like folk music, singer-songwriter stuff, and similar. And finally, all the Signature Series consoles, both the Multitracks and the standard Signature Series, have USB interfaces. So on the standard Signature Series, there's a 2-in, 2-out USB interface. And it also comes back in on a channel, so that allows you to have EQ and a fader for your USB return from your DAW or from your computer. And it sends, on the standard series, it sends the mix left right, or this switch here switches it between aux 1, 2. So you could do a separate recording mix as well as your main mix in your room. And then with the Signature Multitracks, we also added a complete multi-track USB interface on the model. So the Signature 12 has a 14-in, 12-out USB interface. 14-in is so you have the 12 input channels plus the mix left right, and then the 12-out so you play back onto individual input channels. And on the 22, a Signature 22 multi-track, it's 24 input, 22 output. Again, 22 inputs, you record all your incoming signals plus the mix left right, and then 22 out, meaning you can play back into any input channel onto the console. So there's a lot of ways you can use the Signature Multitracks. In a studio environment, you could use it to record as your front end. You know, you have your Ghost mic pre, you can get all those tracks directly into your DAW, then you can return them back in and mix them using the Sapphire EQ and the Signature's analog summing bus. You can also use it in live settings as well. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can, of course, multi-track record the entire set, so you can mix it again later to do like a demo. It's also great for live performances where you have to mix pre-recorded material or click tracks with live performance. So on channels 5 and 6, for instance, we can have play a mono track from some electronic music or something that we've done in a DAW previously and have it mixed on the surface. Or if you want the click track to come in and feed, let's say, the drummer's headphone bus, you could bring in a stereo input, whack it up on the aux buses, but keep it down in the main mix so the audience doesn't hear it. You could even mix processing from your DAW with the Signature Series' own channel strip. So all the inputs send to the USB all the time, and the return switch on the multi-track switches it from listening to the mic pre to the USB return. But since it's always sending to the USB, you'll still get your input. So this allows you to do things like VST plugins. If you have your channel coming in, switch to USB return, configure your DAW, load your plugin, you'll have the mic pre into your plugin, then down into the EQ. As far as latency, depends on your computer's performance. We have low latency ASIO drivers, which should be at about like 4 milliseconds at optimal buffer settings to your material. So that's the Signature Series, guys. This is our take on 21st century analog, which hopefully proves that analog is still very much alive. Catch you next time.